So we've come up with what is a modern-day premiership profile based on the premiers of the last 10 years. And the premiers of the last 10 years have all been ranked 1 to 5 in each of those categories. And the Swans are a fair way off that at the present time. But this isn't about the Swans necessarily, it's about everybody. And the Cats at this stage, it's an amazing turnaround because there are the Cats. They're 1 or 2. Last year, on the top 2, they were 4th and 9th. Oppo scores inside forward 50, they were 6th. And post-stoppage contested possessions, they were 4th. And yet all of a sudden, they're 3 games or 2 games now clear on top of the ladder, and they've turned that around. If you look at the Sydney Swans, there's a lot of work to be done for the Sydney Swans to get to themselves into sustainable footy that can win you a premiership. Now, at the present time, they can't keep the ball in the forward 50 because they're selecting such a tall forward line. The Tigers, this is one of the dramatic issues for the Tigers. They've fallen off the cliff in some of the things they were so strong about. In their premiership year a couple of years ago, they would have been in the 1, 2, 5. And the West Coast are the other real concern at the present time. Look at those numbers, and that's what Adam Simpson would be really dramatically concerned about. And the one outrider, I think, is Port Adelaide. Inaccuracy has kept a few of those clubs at the top of the ladder, but inaccuracy has caused Ken Hinkley and his group to be far further down the ladder than they should be. The one thing they've got to address is the ground
ball's inside 50.
Well, I think it's the progression, isn't it? I mean, some of those teams we saw on there in different stages, but you're right. If you want to be an elite team, and you want to be top 4 and you want to be a premiership team, it's a great guide. It's a really, really good graph if you're at home and following your team and seeing clearly Carlton down the bottom. We know their graphics changed slightly from the weekend, but there's a long way to go. I think your point about Sydney is relevant, but what Sydney have done really well is probably address that midfield area. I like Hewitt going into there. Heaney's been in there a little bit more. Obviously, Buddy makes a huge difference when he comes back. But I think the Sydney, all the coaches will be aware of the profiles. It's just where you start, where you shuffle it. I think Sydney a month ago were really struggling in the midfield spread. They've done a lot to do that. But I think it also shows you, Jared, with Geelong, when everyone was questioning where would Geelong go at the end of last year, you slot the right players into that system. And it doesn't take that long to change. If you're sort of that 6 to 10 team, you can turn it around pretty quickly.
If you can be specific, if you can narrow down on
if you can narrow down what it is you need.
Forward half stuff, they identified the need and then go and execute their recruiting.
That's what I thought was fascinating, that they were so dramatic, Geelong. They were trying to play forward half last year. They couldn't do it. They went back to another way. And this is why I find it really interesting, trying to work out what a coach is trying to do versus what execution there is. Now, with Sydney going in with such
what's Horse doing then? Surely Horse is following the rest of the competition, trying to...
No, I think what Horse is doing at the moment is he knows he can't play the forward half game, so he's trying to work out a way to win. And their way to win is to flood back and then try and play the press. Which happened yesterday. And I just wonder whether Buddy Franklin is an outrider in his own right, because Buddy plays so much better in an uncrowded space. And so I'm not sure what's going through Buddy's, through Horse's mind, but... it was a really fascinating game to watch, and I'll be interested to see what the Swans do with their recruiting at the end of the season as to whether they go, we need some more ground ball and pressure players in that forward